Back when I was working a full time corporate job as an IT consultant, I secretly built a YouTube channel to over 400 million views. If someone found out, I could have been easily fired. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. I had no prior experience or special equipment. I'll also share the actual numbers, like how much money I've made, and the one moment where I almost quit everything. I'm just a normal guy who quit a six-figure consulting job and now lives in Taiwan making YouTube videos sharing my experience. So let's get into it. One quick thing, I'm switching it up a little bit for this video. Instead of my usual gameplay footage in the background, I'm filming at a nearby park today. Honestly, sometimes you just need to step outside, get some sun, and be around people for a bit. Let me know in the comments what you think about this because I'm always open to feedback. Okay, anyways, back in early 2024, I started noticing something strange happening on YouTube. Short form content was exploding. New channels were blowing up almost overnight. Regular people with no big names, no massive budgets were pulling in millions of views on these 30 to 60-second clips. I came across one channel in particular that really caught my eye, so I studied it and I started taking notes and I basically tried to reverse engineer it. And eventually I thought, man, I could totally do this. I could emulate it. Now, here's what I want to be upfront about. I had zero editing experience, zero filming experience. I had no idea how the YouTube algorithm worked. I had zero experience. All I had at the time was a vision and enough motivation to try it. So I basically went head first. I decided I'll just figure it out along the way. And I set two rules for myself that I never broke. First, never use the corporate laptop for anything YouTube related. Second, never tell anyone at work what I was doing. Nobody at the office needed to know what I was building, and nobody did. It's just safer that way. But I'll admit, the first few months, they were rough. Views were almost non-existent. The comments that came in the beginning weren't exactly kind either. And watching other channels grow while mine barely moved, that's a feeling that's really hard to swallow at the end of a long workday. And there's this assumption that YouTube Shorts is easy. They're short, right? I mean, how hard could it be? But when you're starting from zero, figuring out hooks, pacing, editing, sound, a 45-second video can sometimes take 2, 3, 4 hours to put together. And I was exhausted a lot of the time. There were real moments where I just wanted to call it quits. But I kept coming back to one thing, which was consistency. My goal was one short per day. Some days I hit it, and honestly, some days I didn't. But I showed up overall, and that mattered more than any single day. The other big thing I had to learn was to be okay with not being perfect. Sometimes, especially in the beginning, I was spending like 3 extra hours tweaking a short that ended up performing the same as the one I made in like half that time. That's a losing game. I had to get comfortable with the idea of posting something even when it didn't feel fully ready. Once I let that go, it felt like there was this giant weight lifted off my back. Now, here's something I had to learn the hard way. The algorithm does not care that I had back to back meetings on a Tuesday. It doesn't care that my boss requested an emergency call one day and wiped out my entire afternoon. It doesn't care about my schedule at all. What it rewards eventually is the content, the volume, the effort over time, and of course the quality. I really don't like uploading crap content, so it can be a challenge sometimes, trying to keep the pace moving. So anyways, my YouTube work had to bend around real life. For me, that meant making shorts during lunch breaks or when I had meeting gaps from my corporate job, to late nights after everything was done for the day, to even on weekends sometimes. It wasn't a clean, consistent schedule, but I tried to squeeze time for making the shorts where I could. And what's funny is, my corporate job actually made me a better creator because I was already used to the deadlines and the structure, showing up even when you're not in the mood. Those are exactly the skills a 9 to 5 trains into you. And those same skills transfer directly into building my shorts channel. So after I got the channel stood up, months went by. There were some small occasional view spikes, but overall, it was a very slow growth. Decent numbers here and there, but nothing that made me feel like I was actually getting somewhere. And then after about 5 to 6 months, one short took off. This one short got me 87 million views. Just think about that for a second. One single video got 87 million views, and it netted me around $9,800. I honestly didn't even think much of the short and definitely didn't expect it to go viral. And my subscriber count spiked overnight from that one video. And then the AdSense income started to pour in. And suddenly, all those months of grinding with almost nothing to show for it, they completely made sense now. This is the part not a lot of people tell you when you're in the middle of the struggle. You can't see the big moment before it happens. There's no sign that says this one's going to be different. You just keep making them until one lands. And what's funny is, I still remember this moment at my last corporate job. My boss told me in a one on one meeting that a raise just wasn't in the budget for the year. Meanwhile, my YouTube channel was already making more than that raise would have given me, and my boss had no idea. And I have to give him some credit because every time I felt frustrated at work or I felt undervalued, it pushed me to make another short. That frustration became fuel for me. Now, even with YouTube money coming in, I still tell you, don't get ahead of yourself and quit your full time job. I've seen creators go all in thinking more time meant faster growth, and it didn't always play out the way they imagined. As someone who has launched multiple channels, YouTube income is not stable. It can swing wildly month to month with zero warning. One month you're up, the next you're wondering what happened. So if you're thinking about quitting your job, you really need either strong savings as a cushion or other income streams running alongside it. Because YouTube alone is not something you can predictably live off of, especially early on. And I think some people underestimate the workload. Depending on your content, you've got brainstorming, scripting, filming, editing. It adds up fast. Some creators also fall into this trap of overthinking every single detail, and a video that should take 3 days ends up taking 3 weeks. I was guilty of that myself early on. I would get so caught up obsessing over small things that it would stall everything else. Just because you have more free time doesn't automatically mean better output. Sometimes it just gives you more hours to second guess yourself into never hitting publish. But from everything I've learned launching several channels, the beginning is truly the hardest part. But it's also the part every creator just has to push through. There's no shortcut around it. Now, there was this one specific moment where I think it was around month 4 or 5 where I almost called it quits. This was right before that one short went viral and got 87 million views. My 9 to 5 work was already stressful. Then you pile on YouTube on top of that with a channel that was barely moving. So my energy was pretty low. And it was getting harder and harder to justify doing my 9 to 5 work and then doing even more work with YouTube. I really thought about deleting the whole channel and just accepting that maybe this wasn't for me. But what got me through wasn't some big motivational moment. One of the things I kept telling myself was just post one more. Just make one more short and revisit everything else tomorrow. I don't have to be the best, but as long as I post consistently, learn, and have a little bit of fun, that's okay. I also set a small personal goal. I wanted to get to at least 100 shorts uploaded before I even allowed myself to seriously consider quitting. That number gave me a solid target to hold on to. I wasn't thinking about money, I wasn't thinking about a certain number of subscribers. I was just focused on making the next short. I know it's not the kind of advice that makes a great motivational quote, but it's honestly what got me through it. So here's my honest take, and from someone who built a channel to over 400 million views. Don't quit your job, at least not yet. Shorts income is very unpredictable. One month, the numbers are great, and the next month, they just fall off a cliff for no clear reason. YouTube can change their algorithm at any point, and there's nothing you can do about it. It is not a steady paycheck. You can't build a stable life on top of something that inconsistent, not without something solid underneath you first. So for this channel, I made around 50K so far, but there are many ups and downs along the way. And the reason I was eventually able to quit my corporate job wasn't YouTube alone. It was really my investments. If you check out my previous videos, my investment portfolio that I've been quietly building on the side while doing YouTube, while doing my 9 to 5, that's what made leaving actually feel okay rather than a gamble. YouTube was one piece of a much bigger picture. So if you're seriously thinking about quitting, make sure you have at least 6 to 12 months of expenses saved before you even consider it. Ideally, make sure you have some form of monthly cash flow already coming in, whether that's YouTube revenue, investments, a side business, whatever it is. And if you have family, a partner, or close friends who could give you a safety net for a short period, use it. Because the goal was never to go all in on one platform and hope for the best. It was to build something that didn't rely on any single thing to survive. Not an algorithm, not a trending topic, and definitely not a boss or employer who could just let you go for whatever reason. That's what I was really chasing from day one. So 400 million views didn't happen because I had the perfect setup. It didn't happen because I had extra time or some advantage nobody else had. It happened because I stayed consistent when nothing was working, because I kept improving little by little, even when the numbers weren't moving, because I got comfortable hitting publish before I felt ready, and I refused to walk away during the times that felt completely pointless. My 9 to 5 really wasn't the enemy. It was actually what kept me disciplined while I built something on the side. The stability of my 9 to 5 paycheck also gave me the freedom to take risks on the channel without panicking. So think about where I started. I had zero YouTube experience. I had no audience, no guarantee any of it would work. I'm just a regular guy with a job that gave it a shot. So if I could build something starting from that point, the only thing standing between you and the same result is one decision. Are you willing to start before you feel ready? And it doesn't have to be YouTube, it can be anything, because that's always the hardest part. And it's the one part that's completely in your hands. That's it for today's video. Thanks again for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy the content, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.